Fight!
To the top left of Habitation Station, in blue, up 2-0 against his opponent. It is DragonToss. And up against the ropes, in the top right corner, it's MidnaKong. Can he get this game back? Can he pry a win from the clutches of this Protoss player? He is going for a hatchery first. Can it be blocked? It will not be blocked, and the hatchery first is here. The drone is trying to keep this probe on us, but there's no forge, so no troubles with cannons in the natural. Gas being taken by Protoss player and a pylon block for the third base at the gold. An extensive check for cannons at the natural. Discussing few minerals, but it's still very important if you know that your opponent is like to do this. Gas finishing up, spawning pool halfway done. Whilst the Nexus for DragonToss is going down. This seems to be a fairly straight up build coming out of the Protoss player. And the Overlord now scouts it. What will the response be? Of a Zerg player. 4 Zerglings in production immediately. And 1 Queen. The wall's completed. The Zealot coming out to plug the hole. While speed is being started for MidnaKong. Against this wall, the Zerglings are probably not going to do much. So, will the Speedlings be used to try and bust down the wall, or will an Overlord lift off, put them directly in the main, in order to harass the worker lines? There's no Evo chamber yet. But there is a drone coming down to the bottom third base. And this looks to be a longer game than initially expected from these players. A Forge and Robotics Bay. Potentially, once again, for a sentry drop into the main base of the Zerg player. We'll shortly see what comes out of this, what will be built, and it is going to be a Warp Prism. Warp Prism 2 sentries. This looks to be very similar to what we saw in the last game. Only more as a dedicated build rather than a reaction to the very early pool. Lair is on its way. A Spore Crawler in the main. A Spore Crawler in the natural. The third finishing up. And Overlord Speed being researched. A very interesting choice. Besides that, there is no tech yet. There are no roaches for a Zerg player, but an Overlord spots the Warp Prism, spots the sentries, and the conclusion can be taken that this is going to be the same build. A potential sentry drop in the main base. Overlord Speed is finished now. 2 Evolution Chambers are finishing up. Will this be for Overlord drops? Immortals coming out. It seems Warp Prism is not going to be used aggressively for now. Lings are kept in the main base at the ramp in order to prevent the drop from happening. A pylon had to be destroyed by DragonToss himself and depowered one of the gateways. New power finished up to make up for that. More gateways coming in, and 1-1 before the Roach Warden is even finished. This could time out ideally if DragonToss attacks. It would be 1-1 versus 1-1, but a Spire on the way as well. Let's see when DragonToss is gonna move out and whether or not the defenses of MidnaKong will be adequate. Or if with the roaches, MidnaKong is going to move out, distract the army, and then backstab with a flock of mutas. But it seems DragonToss is going to be the aggressor. 2 Immortals, 3 Sentries. 2 of those Sentries are almost full of energy, so that's going to be a lot of force field. The units. There are a lot of Zerglings and a few Roaches, but without 1-1, will it be enough to hold off this army? Stalker Warpins. More Roaches are going to be needed, but a round of drones is being made. Most of the army is in the main base, but it does not seem like the Warp Prism is going to be used for any drop harass, but for Warpins instead. 1 Corruptor coming out, probably to try and snipe this Warp Prism. And Mutalisks are on their way as well. There's a lot of army stuck in the main base of MidnaKong. Whilst DragonToss is still posturing outside of his opponent's base whilst getting a Nexus at the gold. More sentries are being warped in. These are a lot of sentries. With Ravager, just they can't block the roaches in natural forever, but there are no Ravagers as of now. The first force fields are going down. They are not amazing. The roaches are all in position to shoot, but will this army be good enough to defend? The Immortals are doing massive damage, and there's going to be a flank of Stalkers from the top side, and no, the roaches get absolutely pasted. And the third base looks to be given up for MidnaKong. More roaches are in production. Ravagers coming out as well to prevent those pesky force field and to do added damage. But this is now a 2-base Zerg versus an almost 3-base Protoss. And Protoss has the gold. The Ravagers are doing the damage. Corrosive Piles coming out, but the rocks are going down, and it looks like our Protoss escapes. The Zerg player is going to try and cut off the Protoss forces. An Overlord sees where the Stalkers are. Observer spots the army of the Zerg player, and the Protoss army is stuck. A lot of drones still hanging around. They haven't died yet. More Stalkers are out here, and +2 and clear reconstitution has started for the Zerg player. Nothing but roaches and overlords coming out for the Zerg, and also no more workers coming out for the Protoss player, just army units. And there's a good concave for the Protoss player. Corrosive Piles hit, but it will not be enough. There's just too much Protoss here, too much damage output from these Immortals and the Guardian Shield protecting them. On the north side, the Zerg seems to win, but these Immortals, these key units for the Protoss player, are still alive. Only small numbers of roaches seem to be getting out now, and this is just too much Protoss for a Zerg to handle in this situation. The upgrades will not finish up. The roaches are down to 4. Warpins in the natural. And GG is called by MidnaKong.